This is an MLB postseason bracket. And now we know who is going to be filling up all of these spots. So let's do this. So we're just gonna have 6-3 on the top, 5-4 on the bottom. Hope doesn't annoy you. So we have Detroit versus Cleveland. Again, order doesn't really matter for this. Here we have the Red Sox versus the Yankees. Here are the Blue Jays, and here are the Mariners. Whereas on this side, here you have the Reds taking on the Dodgers. Here you have the Padres taking on the Cubs. Here are the Phillies, and here's Milwaukee. And we're going to be breaking this down step by step and looking at who is going to make it past each series. And ultimately, I am going to give my prediction on who's going to win the World Series. Yes, I am very mad that the Mets are not on here, but I am going to try to do this as a baseball fan, not as a Mets fan. Even though you'll probably be able to tell that I am a little bit biased towards certain teams, which will factor into my predictions. However, I still try to always provide a factual line of reasoning behind everything as to why it's going to happen. Tigers, Guardians, I'm sorry, Tigers fans, but the Guardians will be winning this series. You had a 15.5 game lead on the AL Central. You wound up tied. The reason why the Guardians had the division is because you lost a tiebreaker. And they've been incredibly clutch too. You know, they were sub 500 early in the month of September. They had a 2.9% chance to make the playoffs. Somehow made it in. Again, I'm going to be doing a more in-depth video on that when I get back to New York on the 10th or 11th when I have my computer. But the Tigers, they started off 59-34. Down the stretch, they went just 27-39. The reason why this isn't the biggest collapse of all time is because the Tigers at least made the playoffs, but it was the biggest divisional collapse of all time. 15.5 game lead in July, about 10 game lead in September. What the Guardians did was historic, and also Tigers Guardians is a rematch of the 2024 ALDS. And if you might remember, the Guardians won in 5 games. The Tigers had a 2-1 series lead. We then saw Game 4, the Guardians come back and win. In Game 5, Lane Thomas hits a grand slam off Tariq Skubal and really proves Skubal is fraudulent. And now with the Tigers limping into the playoffs, I really think that we're going to see the Guardians. Red Sox, Yankees, it's going to be the Boston Red Sox. It can only be the Boston Red Sox. The Yankees have been a pretty good team as of late. They're actually, and the Red Sox are slumping a little bit coming into this. The Yankees almost erased a 7-game, deficit or 5-game deficit in September. But gotta remember, Yankees were 7-up on the division. May 28th, looked like they were cruising. Red Sox were sub 500, so the fact that the Red Sox made it to the playoffs really speaks volumes to how, they've adapted. And the Yankees had a terrible stretch in the summer before they came alive at the end of summer and into September. That being said, the Red Sox really had the Yankees number all year. I think the Yankees went 4-9 against the Red Sox. They did win the final series, though, but even still, with how the Red Sox and especially Garrett Crochet looked, I don't think that there's a chance that the Yankees can win that Garrett Crochet game. And already that puts the Red Sox at a huge advantage heading into Game 1 because it forces the Yankees to win 2 games. Honestly, that alone is enough for me to pick the Red Sox. TBH. And I think that the Red Sox, they've stacked up well against the Yankees in the playoffs. Alex Cora, I'm pretty sure, as the manager, has already beaten the Yankees in the playoffs twice. 2018 ALDS, 2021 wildcard game. So even though the Yankees are a different team now, I think that the season will be over in the first round. So I could fail at the AL side of the bracket, but I'm going to try and keep it even. I'm going to do the NL side and predict the wild card matchups. Reds, Dodgers, you know what? Give me the Reds, which is a crazy bold take. But you have to realize something. The Dodgers are a 93-win team. The Reds are an 83-win team. the last two times that the Dodgers faced a team that they won, every time that the Dodgers, not every time, but like a lot of times when the Dodgers play a team that they're so much better than, they choke in a series. 2022 NLDS. The 111 win Dodgers lose to the 89 win Padres. 2023 NLDS, the 100 win Dodgers lose to the 84 win Diamondbacks. 2024, they won 98 games. Their opponents, the Padres, won 93 games. The Mets 89, the Yankees 94. But the 2021 wild card game against the Cardinals. Last time they actually, won a playoff series when their opponent was significantly worse than them. The Dodgers can tend to underestimate their opponents, and we've seen a lot of aggression on core players of the Dodgers. We saw them coming into the slumping. Now, the Reds aren't very good either. They are 48-45 since June 13th, and in the last 56 games, they're actually 27-29. The reason why the Reds got the spot was because the Mets did worse. Since June 13th, they went 38-55. Since, in the last 56 games, the Mets went 21-35. So they've been playing 400 ball for a while now. It's been pathetic to see how bad they've been. The Reds didn't even really earn the spot. The Mets handed it to them, and every other team that was in contention, like the Diamondbacks, Giants, Cardinals, even the Marlins, faltered down the stretch at some point. But that's how the Reds got the spot. They're an 83-win team, but we've seen a lot of magic with 6 seeds. A 3 seed has never won the wild card series in the National League before, which is crazy. I think that trend will continue, and I think the Reds will win. Padres, Cubs, give me the Cubs. Padres have shaky starting pitching. They do have a really good bullpen. However, the Cubs can outslug them. I think the key to the series is, can Kyle Tucker and Pete Crow Armstrong regain their forms in the first half? But PCA finally hit 30 home runs, and I think that the Cubs, are going to be able to outslug the Padres at home to a victory in the wild card round. As for the ALDS, Guardians, Mariners, the Mariners, I think, are going to win this one. This is something special. We saw the last few years the Mariners have had the pitching to make the playoffs, but never the offense. Well, now Cal Raleigh had 60 home runs, and now they have Eugenio Suarez, who hasn't been great with the Mariners and hit most of his home runs on the D-backs, still has 49 home runs on a season, though. So we can see the Mariners can probably be able to outslug the Guardians. Plus, these Mickey Mouse Cinderella runs tend to end at some point. We saw a Tiger Cinderella run last year. And in the ALDS, I think the Mariners will too. This might be the Mariners' year. Hint, that might be foreshadowing. As for the Red Sox, Blue Jays, I think the Blue Jays win this one. Pretty sure that the Blue Jays did pretty well against the Red Sox head-to-head this year. And they just have something special in them. The Red Sox, I think that they stack up well against the Yankees. Not based on how they played against the Blue Jays, not sure how well they stack up against them. Roman Anthony is injured. Don't forget that. And the Blue Jays, they just have something in them. I don't know. I haven't been following too closely with the AL, but I think the Blue Jays will win this one. Reds, Phillies, give me the Reds again, which, again, I know I'm being very bold on the Reds here, but you got to understand something. The Phillies have been a pretty good team. They have not beaten a team that was worse than them in the playoffs since 2010. So in the Rob Thompson era, they've never beaten a team worse than them. They've beat plenty of teams that were better than them. Don't get me wrong. 2022, you win the wild card against the Cardinals. They were 3 games better than you. Against the, the NLDS Braves were 14 games better than you. NLCS Padres were 2 games better than you. 2023 in the NLDS beat the Braves, who were, again, 14 games better than you. But the 2023 NLCS, you finally played a team that was worse than you and you lost. Same for the 2024 NLDS. The Phillies are coming into this on 96 wins. Reds only 83. But, the Phillies just can't stand on business against these weak teams. They can beat the great teams, but they can't stand on business against these weak playoff teams. I think the Reds will win this series. Again, their lineup is pretty pitiful, but, the Phillies of playoff chokers, and we've seen this time and time and time again. So I really think the Reds win the series. And as for Cubs, Brewers, give me the Cubs. The Brewers have shown to be playoff chokers year after year. 2018 NLCS was the last time winning a playoff series, and the Brewers just don't really have the talent that the Cubs have. They started a year off, 21-25. They had a bunch of hot runs. It's Moneyball-esque, but we know how Moneyball ended. I think the Cubs have more talent than the Brewers. I think that the Cubs will end the Brewers season. They also, I think, won the season series against the Milwaukee Brewers. They stack up well against them. Blue Jays, Mariners. I'm taking the Mariners here. Again, I just see something in the Mariners. Get it? See. And I don't know. I just feel like the Blue Jays don't have the talent to win the World Series. The Mariners might. And Reds, Cubs. Okay, the Reds run has got to end. It's going to be the Cubs. I just can't see the Reds making it past the Cubs. I get that the Reds swept them in a 4-game series. Keep in mind that the Cubs were resting a lot of key players. The Cubs are kind of limping into the playoffs a little bit. But to be honest, so are the Reds as well. They're also limping into the playoffs because remember, the Reds didn't really earn their spot. They just got handed it to them on a silver platter. So that will leave this, a Mariners-Cubs World Series. I think the Mariners will win this one. I think the Mariners win their first ever World Series. With that being said, This isn't the only outcome where a team wins their first World Series. There's 2 other teams on here that have never won a World Series before. You have the San Diego Padres and the Milwaukee Brewers. They've also never won a World Series before. The other team that haven't won a World Series, the Texas Rangers, got eliminated because they slumped at the end of the year. I feel like there's another team that never won a World Series. There's got to be. Oh, yeah, the Rays. But the Rays looked good for a while, but then they just completely collapsed down the stretch. But we could still see a team win a World Series for the first time. Guardians haven't won it since 1948, so honestly, that would feel like they've won it for the first time because most Guardians fans weren't alive the last time they won it. We could see a lot of, intense rematches in the World Series. Dodgers is possible. We could see a 2016 World Series matchup in theory. Cubs, Guardians. It's on the table. As improbable as it might be. There's honestly a lot of cool things. 1993 World Series rematch. Blue Jays, Phillies is on the table. There's honestly a lot of cool matchups that we could see in the World Series and in the playoffs. But those are just my projections.